clearly, we were very concerned about our finances and our financial situation. It was something that none of us knew what the impact would be. What we did is we immediately started to scale back on expenses, make projections. We actually had a projection of a 15% reduction in revenues during last fiscal year. And we also engaged the council in a very meaningful way by going to them on a monthly basis with a report. So it was a real-time opportunity for them to weigh in, make adjustments, and I'll use the term on the fly, which, in the government is a little bit different, because oftentimes what happens is you establish a budget, and that's almost the only time you hear the conversations about the budget until the end of the year, and then you get into the next fiscal year. Revenues were slightly better than we had projected, and so we were able to end the year in the black, which is really a tall order during all the uncertainty.
Consumer spending habits changed during the pandemic. How did sales tax revenue fare?
So, as you know, cities mostly rely on sales tax. And right before the pandemic, about a year or so before the pandemic, there was a case law that came into play called the Wayfair case, which basically gave cities and states the opportunity to charge sales tax on internet sales. And so because the spending habits went from brick and mortar to online sales, we didn't know what the impact was going to be when it happened. But what we found is that although the spending habit and the way that people purchased goods changed, we were able to continue to see some of the revenue that came that was coming into the city.
The city received something like $95 million from the federal government. What impact did that have?
So it was a huge impact. The Mayor Romero and the City Council really were very deliberate in how those dollars were expended to make the biggest impact possible across the community. There were social service agencies that were shored up during this time, helping basically residents with everything from utility payments to rental assistance, et cetera. Also gave us opportunity to really look at shoring up some of our public safety efforts. As you know, we had a variety of additional costs. When you go from, we'll call it the good old days, right before the pandemic, and everything has to be sanitized and cleaned, everything from playground equipment to offices to a variety of areas, those costs start to accumulate. And so what we were able to do is utilize some of those dollars specifically for that. Now, ultimately, some of the longer term opportunities were shoring up our broadband and availability of broadband throughout the community. We're still working on that. I think that with some of the American Rescue Plan monies, we'll be able to have even more conversation around that and include private sector partners as well.
It's somewhat historic, but $14 million for road repair, something that motorists will say is long overdue. How were you able to make that happen in this budget?
The majority of road repair money comes from gas tax. Well, we don't normally use, we'll call it the operating budget to shore up the roads. But because we ended the year in the black, the council immediately really saw that as an opportunity to shore up the roads and asked me to really explore a $14 million infusion of dollars for road repair. And so really excited about that. They've actually put into the budget for next year as well as a placeholder, a similar amount for us to continue to move towards, because ultimately the chemistry of how much money we get in for road repair and the needs, it's just such a big difference. And we're going to have to do something locally. And so this is really the demonstration of leadership by Mayor Romero and the City Council to do exactly that.
The pandemic is winding down, but far from over. As we move forward, it's clear that there will still be people who need support. Is it there?
As you may be aware, the city is a recipient of some American Rescue Plan money. We have been earmarked for $139 million or $134 million. We have received $67 million of that. Unfortunately, the final guidance on how to use that has not been completed by the federal government, so we're sort of waiting. We have some preliminary guidance, and we're starting to organize ourselves. But the key is making sure that it is there to support in a sustained way and manner the needs of this community. And so we're still working through that. We've got a few details that we're going to be presenting to the council on August 10th. They have already weighed in on some of the preliminary thoughts, and we'll be seeing a lot more detail here in the not too distant future.
Okay. Mike Ortega, City Manager of Tucson. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.